Okay, so here's the deal. I hope you remember this from other Relearn packets, that the first thing you're going to do is, for any section that you need to do, as judged by the cover sheet of this packet, that you are going to do section A by watching the video with me leading the way on section A. We'll do it together. Only after watching the video. If you bring this work to me without watching the video, I am not going to check it over. Only after watching the video do you go on to section B. When you're done with section B, do not go to section C. Have me or some qualified person check section B, and then you can go to section C. So let's take a look now at section A, and this was a critical part of the test. And here's where I get frustrated, because we talked a lot about the need to be able to do every one of these. You were given 2 practice tests, plus you had all the samples on homework for days and days and days, probably upwards of 3 weeks leading up to your test. So you really should have been able to get virtually every single factoring correct. Yet there were people who missed 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 or 7 of these factorings. The only way that happens is if you don't work hard, if you are irresponsible. If you are responsible, you get it right. The good news is, I do believe in redemption, and you have a chance now to redeem yourself. So we take a look at number 1. And as I'm looking at number 1, I have to learn to recognize certain things. Number 1 is the kind of question that we call the difference of 2 perfect squares. And what I mean by that is that it is possible, by looking at this, to do the square root of 4x squared and the square root of 81y squared. And by the difference of 2 perfect squares, what I mean is subtract the difference. So this is going to be 2x plus 9y and 2x minus 9y. Now, a simpler version of this might be something like x squared minus 25. I could square root both of those, and I'm going to get x plus 5, x minus 5. It's simply a recognition thing. You have to recognize it and see it. There is no common factor to pull out. That's what we always look for first. There is nothing in this problem, okay? Next, number 2. What do we do before we cross the road? Always look both ways. So what do we do always when we factor? We look for a common factor. Is there anything in common between an 8D and a 28? Sure there is, a 4. So 4, now remember, factoring is division. It's anti-distribute. So that's 2D plus 7. Now, we always say to multiply back with a quick mental check. 4 times 2D is 8D. 4 times 7 is 28, so that's correct. If you got the factoring wrong, I'm willing to bet that you're not checking back the anti-distribute that is factoring. You're not distributing or double distributing, as the case might be, back to see if you got it correct. Okay, number 3. Again, what do we do before we cross the road? We always look both ways. So I look here and I say, what do they share in common? Well, obviously they share a C. So it's C minus 5. And if I distribute back, C times C is C squared. C times negative 5 is negative 5C. Okay, now we go to number 4. Number 4 is different, because if I look for a common factor between x squared, 8x, and negative 20, there is no common factor. So now, and only now, do I begin to go with, as Ms. Daly calls it, a double bubble, or a pair of binomials. But notice, we don't do that on numbers 2 and 3. On numbers 2 and 3, we found the common factor, so we pull it out first. Some people went to double packages on 2 or 3 first, and that's a mistake. Now, the only way to get x squared out of this is x and x, and this is where we use the AM method. So I ask myself, what 2 numbers multiply out to negative 20 and add up to positive 8? So let's list the possible ways to multiply out to negative 20. You always want to look at the multiplication first. There's negative 1 and 20. There's 1 and negative 20. There's negative 2 and 10. There's 2 and negative 10. There's negative 4 and 5. And there's 4 and negative 5. So which of these combinations can give me a positive 8? And I would say those 2 add up to 8. So my factors are going to be x minus 2 and x plus 10. Now, it's extremely important that you do a quick mental check back. When I graded these tests, many students were reversing the signs. Not necessarily on this one, but on the ones that follow. And I don't want to say this for every question. But a lot of students would put this, x plus 2 and x minus 10. Now, first off, this is always going to end up being the sign of the bigger number. But that being as it said, if you just do the quick check, the quick mental check back, I think you would find that if you had put these wrong answer down here, you would have found your mistake and corrected it easily. X times x is x squared, x times 10 is 10x, negative 2 times x is negative 2x. So 10x and negative 2x add up to 8x, negative 2 times 10 is negative 20. What I did there was I double distributed, okay? And that shows that I'm right. Now let's take a look at number 5. I can ask myself as I look at number 5, what do they share in common? There is nothing they share in common. So now I go to the daily double bubble or the pair of binomials. As I take a look at this, what two numbers multiply out to negative 20 and add to negative 1? Well, I go over here again. The ones that add up to negative 1 are 4 and negative 5. So that means I have to be x plus 4, x minus 5. But always the quick mental check. X times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is minus 5x's. 4 times x is 4x's. Negative 5x's and 4x's is negative x. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. So that works. B squared minus b minus 20 is correct. I might have said x there. I apologize if I did. Okay, number 6. Again, AM method. What two numbers multiply out to 14 and add up to 9? This is one just about everybody got right. This is going to be n plus 7, n plus 2. Quick multiply back, quick mental check. N times n is n squared, n times 2 is 2n. 7 times n is 7n. 2n, 7n's add up to the 9n I wanted. 7 times 2 is 14. Okay, next up. X squared minus 14x plus 24. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply out to 24, add up to negative 14. That would be an x minus 12 and an x minus 2. Check yourself by multiplying back. X times x is x squared, x times negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 12 times x is negative 12x, negative 12 times negative 2 is positive 24. So I know I have it right. X minus 12 times x minus 2. Now, number 8, first off, numbers 1 through 7, I truly believe are easy. And I think there is no excuse if you didn't get them right. The only reason you didn't get them right is you did not prepare well enough. Remember, performance is a function of preparation. Now, number 8, this is not the case. Number 8 is a very difficult question. And we look for a common factor, and there is no common factor. So now we're going to go to plan B, where I'm going to multiply the 20 by 2, and I get v squared minus 3v minus 40. And then I'm going to factor that, and that's going to give me v minus 8 times v plus 5. Again, using the AM on the new trinomial. But since I multiplied by 2 here, I have to come back and divide by 2 to balance that out. And I'm going to get v minus 4 times 2v plus 5. And those are my factors. I did see one kid over here on the right, they wrote v plus 2.5. No. Elementary school trick. Remember, elementary school, the 2 times the v plus the 5. Kind of like when we convert to an improper fraction. All right, so those are all of the numbers from 1 through 8. I think that these are, I think this is the entire first section. Let's see here. Yes, it is. Okay, so section A is complete. Do your work and go from there.